Y'all know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. Why I am the way I am. Let's live it. Y'all stay tuned for that Locked Up in Philly Part 3. That's coming. I'm going to drop that Monday. A lot of people say that they're glad to see I made it out of the struggle, that I changed, that I'm not who I used to be. And I agree. I'm not who I used to be at all. But let me give you a little insight on what made me who I was. And, you know, a lot of people can probably relate. Now, I was told my first steps, and this is little J. I'm just a baby. Still got the Huggies on, whatever diaper I was wearing. But my first, time ever walking was greeted with a high chair to the forehead. My mother and father were arguing. We were living in this shithole trailer park. And I'm just, I don't remember none of this. This is what I've been told by my mom. I'm just this little guy. I'm in the back bedroom of the trailer. You come down the hallway and there's a kitchen. They're in there going at it. I had taken a couple steps here and there. I had never really walked. I'm still trying to stumble around, get my feet, my legs up underneath me. But I'd slept in the bed. My mom and them had put me in the bed. I don't know if I had a crib. I just know the basics of what I was told. But anyway, they're fighting. And I slide off the bed and I walk down the hallway. Here I am, just this little tiny guy in a diaper. Comes walking down the hallway. Stands behind his mama. Probably about to reach out and grab her leg or something. And my father picks up the booster chair that I would sit and eat my food at. My little macaronis or my chicken pot pie or whatever. And he throws it at my mom and she moves. And when she moves, she doesn't know I'm behind her. It hits me and it knocks me out cold. My mom told me that I was unconscious for a while. She was worried. She was so scared of my dad. She couldn't do anything about it because, her taking me to the hospital would mean she'd have to open up to the abuse that was going on in the home. So we fast forward, a couple years, go down the line. I'm like 6 or 7, and I can remember this very vividly because it's such a traumatic event. And y'all gotta excuse me, man. I'm gonna open up and just share some of my real life, man. I don't just talk about other people. I don't just talk about prison. Like, I tell my story also in hopes of helping others. My dad's in the living room and he's bagging up weed. And he's got company over. And the rules were, it wasn't really rules, but grown folk don't need children in their business. You don't need to be talking. You don't need to be seeing what's going on. When he's doing business, carry your ass in the bedroom. So I'm in the living room. They're drinking and they're bagging up. And they're bagging up a whole lot of weed. Money's being counted. Stuff's being weighed out. And like I said, I remember this clear. He tells me, go to the bedroom. I go in the bedroom. And my mom had left a pack of cigarettes and a lighter laying on the nightstand. I pick the lighter up. I go in the closet and I'm playing with the lighter. And this like robe in there. One of them old fuzzy ass house robes you would see. It's hanging in the closet. And I start burning the edges of it. Just playing with a lighter, being, 6, 7 years old, and I catch the robe on fire. I try to put it out. I can't put it out. All the clothes in the closet start catching on fire. The closet starts burning. And so I have no choice but to run into the living room and tell them, hey, the closet's on fire. My dad goes in there, puts his arm through the clothes hangers, grabs all the burning clothes, throws them out the front door into the rain and burns his arm. This, I think, was a turning point in what happened to me now that I've thought about it in life. After he burned his arm, he went ahead and sent the people that were there that he was dealing business with. They went ahead and left. And he brought me in the living room and he sat me down. He sat on the floor and he sat me down between his legs. And he took his legs and he pinned my hands down. And he held my hand with one hand, this big strong man. And with the other hand, he took a lighter and burned each one of my fingers until the point that I had blisters bursting on my fingers. Like blisters literally popping up on the tips of each one of my fingers from where he would hold this lighter to it to teach me a lesson of not to play with fire. I remember screaming. I remember my mom hitting him and fighting with him and him slapping her and he just went back to burning me. After that, I think I lost all sense of what trust is and what love should be. Because when someone that's supposed to, defend you and take care of you hurts you like that, how can you trust anybody? How can you love people after the people that are supposed to love you, you feel, are the ones that hurt you the most? So we keep going forward. Now, growing up in poor places, you're going to do one thing, and that's one thing only. You're going to hang out with poor people. You're going to hang out with people that are like you, people that live the same life as you or similar, because y'all all live in the same neighborhood. The kids you kick it with after school, during school, in the summertime are going to be the kids you live around. So I couldn't go to school and hang out with the preppy kids. I couldn't go to school and hang out with the kids that had the, hey, we played Scrabble last night after dinner type life. I kicked it with kids that, grew up in the same shithole as I did. Kids that had parents that were alcoholics and drug addicts and criminals. Kids that didn't have dads because their dads were in prison. That just comes with growing up in poor places. You don't see poor kids hanging out in rich neighborhoods. Well, with that comes influence. Now, this is what I will say. I've never been easily influenced. I was never one that was led astray. I was never one that other kids are like, hey, let's go do this, and I went and did it. I was always that kid. And I've come to learn something about life and about dealing with abusive, households and things. When the biggest thing you fear in life is the home that you live in and the person that's there, then everything outside of that home isn't that scary. You're not afraid of a bully when your bully lives at the house. What you end up doing is you end up taking out all this fear and all this anger and all this frustration that you can't on the man that lives in the house. You end up taking this out on other kids. So when I would get into confrontations and I get into fights, I would go super hard. And it was almost like I wasn't fighting the other kid. It was almost like I was fighting my dad. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to unleash all this pain, anger, animosity, and shit I had built up inside of me that I couldn't do at home on my father. For every time he beat me, hit my brothers and sisters, beat my mom, and I couldn't do nothing about it, I would just swing that much harder when it came to me and another kid getting into fights. So back to the whole criminal thing. When you grow up poor, you don't have anything. You see your father bagging up weed. You see money being handed back and forth, and that's how money is being made. And you come to understand real quick, shit, if he can do that, I can do it. He smokes a lot of weed, so if there's big sacks of weed laying around, who says I can't, run up in there and, steal some out of it and start selling it? And that's what I did. Well, with doing that came a whole different, everything. I started dealing with older kids. I started learning what it was to be ripped off, bucked on, and I wasn't going to have that. So that meant that even with me being a little guy, if a situation came across where I felt like you weren't going to pay me my money, if I had to pick something up and bust you over the head with it, break in your house and steal something back from you to make me feel like things are right, that's what I was going to do. Now, when it came to school, I was a smart kid. I was a good kid. They always told me, like the teachers always said, you write so well. You're a good writer. Your essays are amazing. When you speak in front of other kids, you're not scared. You have a presence. You're amazing at that. My scores were good. My grades were good up until maybe I was 10 years old when I got in trouble for my first time. And like I told you, I got all this stuff going on at home. So it's hard to focus on what you have to really do when you've got this going on at home. And I had these 3 dudes at my school that used to jump me. I don't know why they jumped me. I never figured that out. Maybe they just didn't like me. Maybe because I didn't wear the nice clothes like they did. Maybe because I was smaller. But for whatever reason, they felt like they could pick on me. Well, I remember I go to this yard sale with my mom, because anybody that comes from a poor family, or, you know, y'all ain't got a lot, y'all know what the yard sales are. The yard sales are jumping on the weekends. And my mom, she was a yard sale junkie. You could take $20, hit a bunch of different yard sales, and fill the whole back of the station wagon up. And that's what we would do. So I'm getting jumped in school every day by these three dudes. And there's nothing I can do about it. I try to fight back. I try as hard as I can. But it's three of them. And one of them, the dude, Rico, is much bigger than me. It's Cam, Cooter, and Rico. And they just smash me out all the time. Right after lunch, they let certain classes go to the bathroom. When my class would go, they'd be waiting on me. They'd come in there, and they would just bang me. I go to this yard sale with my mom, and there's this Rambo knife. I don't know if y'all remember the Rambo knives that had the compass on the bottom, had the sharpening stone, the stuff inside the knife, the big blade. This is back when the Rambo movie was big, like 1990, man. And this knife is on the table, a couple of dollars. My mom won't buy it. Cut to the chase. I steal the knife. Now, I didn't know when I stole the knife that I planned on doing anything with it besides being 10 years old. I take the knife to school with me Monday. I'm getting ready to go to school that Monday, and I remember I was scared to go to school, man. I'm like, man, these boys are going to jump me. I take this knife with me. I've already had instilled in my head that you defend yourself. Whatever has to happen, happens. So that's my mindset. Lunch is done. We go in the bathroom. I pretend I'm peeing. I'm standing there, and I got this knife shoved down in the front of my pants. Sure enough, Cam, Cooter, and Rico, they come in the bathroom. They commence to trying to bank me, and I pull this big knife out, and I turn around, and I just start swinging it. I mean, swinging, like really trying to cut people at 10 years old. They run out the bathroom. I run out behind them. I'm still slashing with this knife. Luckily, I didn't hit nobody. They you know, beep, beep, pum, and got up out of there. The gym teacher, the bathroom's right next to the gym, standing in the hallway, watch kids go by, sees me run out the knife, picks me up, slams me, the knife skirts across the floor. Another teacher gets a knife, and they take me to the office. Cops come, put me in handcuffs. So now I've got this bad boy persona. You know, I've got this reputation that I've built, and I'm just a child. When I should be riding my bike in the other neighborhoods, I've now built this reputation for myself. Years fast forward, and the reputation only gets worse. The beatings at home continue. The disrespect at home continues. The anger continues to pile up. And it just turns me into this person that I never wanted to be. And I don't know if I can blame that on everything, you know, that I ever did. But I know it played a major key. Everything starts in the home, I feel. That's just my thoughts. So by the time I'm a teenager now, and I'm getting locked up, and I'm sent to the detention center, I'm not scared of the detention center. I'm not scared of the other kids. You know who lives at my house? Like, I'm supposed to be scared of these dudes that are my size? This man's 250 pounds and smashes me out, just beats me up like I'm a punching bag. Will bust me upside my head with anything he could pick up. Can't remember how many times when I was like a small kid, I couldn't go to school because I had to hide the bruises or black eyes or knots on my head because he didn't want to go to jail for what he had done to a child. You get later on into my teen years now, I'm to the point where I'm toting a pistol. I'm selling coke. You know, and it's crazy. I can remember the first time I ever saw coke. It was at my house, at the trailer we lived in. This is many, many trailers later, many, many shitholes later. We had a camper sitting out front of where we lived at. And we were living at a place in Henderson, North Carolina, East Lincolnton. And my dad had this camper out front. And I remember this shit clear as day. He never wanted us to go in that camper. It was just this little small pull-behind camper. And I didn't know why. Well, when he wasn't around, I would sneak in there and, you know, smoke a little bit of weed. I must have been 12, 11. And I remember I opened up this cabinet and I found a brick. A whole entire brick. And there's more bricks up in his cabinet. These are keys of coke that him and this dude Joe, his homeboy, have been selling, and they eventually fall out behind. But I got a whole brick of coke in my hands at 12 years old. I know what I'm looking at, but at the time, I don't know anybody that buys this shit, so I just put it back. I didn't know at the time that I was holding probably $15,000 in my hands, but it wouldn't be many years after that I would end up with sacks of coke in my hands selling coke to people. Now, all this is just some backdrop into how I became who I was. By the time, you know, I'm in my teens. I'm an alcoholic because I'm trying to deal with what's going on at home. I'm also now trying to deal with the chaos I'm creating in the streets. Like they say, sometimes you don't have a chance. I didn't really have a chance. But you know what? Before we get any further, I'm going to go ahead and get into something positive. I made a way. I made a change. My father's dead. I think once he died, I kind of, spiraled out of control for a while. But the chaos kind of settled down. Prison was a great thing for me. It was a, terrible thing. But as far as teaching me what life is about, what not having really is about, prison did that. I thought I didn't have shit growing up. Get stuck in that 8x6 cell and see what you have. I want y'all to take this from what I'm saying and process it and understand it when I say it. We've always got an option, and as children, our brains aren't developed yet and we don't think like adults. And as I got later on in, my teen years and my 20s and stuff before I went away, I had options, but it was already ingrained in me who I was going to be. I had to eventually come to terms with what I had been through, what I had dealt with, what I had seen, my reality, and I had to kind of recreate myself. I had to wipe the slate clean. I had to learn to forgive and to stop making excuses on why I was the way I was. That's how I became who I am today. I let go. I forgave someone that knocked me out, someone that burned me, someone that, beat me senseless his whole entire life. All the way up until he couldn't beat me no more. I had to learn to forgive. I had to learn that just because you're from somewhere don't mean you got to be stuck somewhere. Just because you end up in a bad situation doesn't mean you have to stay in a bad situation. I learned that I didn't have to be him. I don't hit my children. I don't think I ever will because of what I went through. And I don't think I'll ever make an excuse for anything that I do in life, because at the end of the day, they're all my choices. I'm a grown man now. But I hope y'all enjoyed this, man. It's just a little kick it for y'all, a little talk. I encourage all y'all to do more, man. Don't let the situation create you. Create the situation. But y'all know what this is, man. This is Jay Williams. Let's live life. To all my real ones and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do, man. So